Coming up on Lockdown Brewers, it's Throwback Thursday. We are going to be recapping the best games of the year for the Brewers, games 18 and 17 today. Little hint, fly that L. Stay with us. This is Lockdown Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So I hit the wrong button there, Dom. I'm still learning this technology, but hey, welcome back, all you cheesers, to Lockdown Brewers, brought to you by the Lockdown Podcast Network. We're talking about your favorite teams every day. I'm Vinny Rottino. You can follow me on Twitter at Vinny Rottino. Also, check me out on the pre- and post-game show during the season for Valley Sports Wisconsin. Also joining me is future big league broadcaster, of course, Dom Cotroneo. Make sure you follow him at Dom underscore Cotroneo. And also make sure you follow Lockdown Brewers on Twitter and subscribe to the Lockdown Brewers podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And thanks for making Lockdown Brewers your first listen. Every day we post episodes daily, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. We are free and available on all platforms. So we are coming to you plausibly live from the basement and from Dom's apartment. We're glad that you're here with us. Dom, it's Throwback Thursday. I got to plug Maggie again, guys. If you are in the market to buy or sell your home, Maggie Rottino, hit her up on Instagram, please. And anyway, back to it here. We're going to continue counting down those games, Dom. We're on numbers 18 and 17. Take it away.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk some headlines, though, as well today. Happy Christmas Eve, by the way, my friend.
Yeah,
I don't know
thank
if are you or Maggie a big Friends fan? I'm not. I just know that's a line.
You know what? I like the show, but I didn't know that was a line.
Yeah, no. So
I'll start
Christmas
using it.
Eve. But no, shout out to that. And for those who are wondering why wasn't there a Wednesday episode, it's the holidays. There's not much to talk about right now. So we're doing 3 episodes this week. So there will be no Friday episode tomorrow. And next week we will do the same schedule: Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. The next Friday is New Year's Eve. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve. You get it. We're just going to hang out, spend time with our families, and then revamp coming in January. But yeah,
Dom, I
go
do
ahead.
want to jump in real quick. On Wednesdays, we're still going to try and do some Workday Wednesday episodes, but more to it. When you guys send in your videos of your kids' swings, that's still coming. I'm going to post little 2-3 minute hitters on YouTube only. We're not going to talk about swings over a podcast. So yeah, we're gonna do little 2-3 minute videos that I'm gonna post those to our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel for sure, because it helps us out, helps the channel, helps us. I don't know, it just helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on, we don't have to keep plugging Maggie's Realty all the time. So it helps the channel.
I'm gonna continue to do that.
Oh, as you should, absolutely. Quick couple of headlines. Brewers legend, of course, as we mentioned at the end of Tuesday's show, Mark Kotsay. He's going to be the manager of the Oakland A's. We kind of called it, but we told you it was on end of Monday's episode. Mark Kotsay is going to be the new manager of the Oakland A's. Of course, a lot of folks remember him on that magical 2011 team. As the A's and West Coast representative of this podcast, Vinny, I can report that nobody is surprised in the East Bay. Everyone saw this coming. Everyone is very excited. However, though, the A's are still kind of in a weird. They may be selling. They may be moving. There's a whole lot going on with Oakland, and Mark Kotsay is going to be a steady hand for him. You never played with Mark. Did you ever play against him?
Never played against or with. It is an interesting name just because I've heard great things about this guy, about his ability to be just a phenomenal teammate. And those are the kind of guys that kind of glue a team together. I'm not surprised that he's got this managing job with Oakland. And I will be honest, it's a little like, what is the big deal? That's what I was thinking all day, but then really just like, okay, I get it. Like, it's kind of a cult following at this point in Oakland for this guy. Is it not, Dom?
He's a big fan favorite. He always loved Oakland, and he has maybe the biggest manager shoes to fill in the last 10 years or so, given he is replacing Bob Melvin, who went to the San Diego Padres. Bob Melvin, of course, a 3-time manager of the year. He has been the stalwart in Oakland, but we wish Mark all the best. Of course, remember that 2011 team. He had a few homers. He had the RBI single in the 8th inning. I mean, the list goes on of reasons to love Mark Kotsay. The A's and Brewers will only play each other in spring training, so that's where you can have your reunion tour. Other than that, Buck Showalter going to the New York Mets. Nobody surprised. That's been rumored for months now. It is official. Buck Showalter going to the Mets. I could see it working. He's now managed. He's managed in New York. He won a world. He's won a world, or he's been to World Series. He managed for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's been there, done that in this world.
Baltimore Orioles as well, longtime manager there. And here's the thing. This is if you would have said Buck Showalter is a manager 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't have ever said this is an out-of-the-box choice for manager. Now, in today's day and age, in where the game is at right now, with everyone going younger, everyone going to college coaching ranks to find coaches, everyone going to guys without any experience to manage. Buck Showalter is kind of an out-of-the-box choice to manage. But I think he'll do well. I think that's probably what the Mets in that kind of market need, someone like that, a presence like that. So I will say this. In today's day and age, in today's game, you need to rely on your young players. You need to rely on players that don't have major league, so to speak, experience, a ton of major league experience, a ton of major league track record. And here's my question. Does Buck Showalter put up with the young player that is going to struggle? And is he going to have patience with that player, right? After managing the Orioles that had such a veteran team, after managing the Yankees who have obviously such a veteran team. So we will see how that plays out. Maybe he adjusts his approach to things, but I've heard he's not the nicest guy to play for, I guess is the wrong word, is nice, but easiest guy to play for when you are a young player.
Ways, to be fair to him. I've heard both ways. That some guys absolutely love playing for him. Some guys understand the role that the manager's not supposed to be your friend, and he just kind of rolls like that. We'll see what happens. I mean, they're obviously a National League opponent. We'll see Buck twice this season, and I like the hire. I could see it working out. I mean, he's still got a pretty veteran team, too, so a lot of that team has seen him before. Frankie Lindor. Now they've acquired Starling Marte. They've got Pete Alonso still at first. They've got Mark Canha now in left field. So, and of course, Max Scherzer, Mad Max, coming back, and with a healthy Jacob deGrom, there's not much managing that maybe he's going to have to be doing. So, pretty interesting. One quick note, and you wanted to talk about this briefly. The MLB trade rumors posted that there's apparently a linking between Carlos Correa and the Chicago Cubs. I personally would be absolutely flabbergasted if Carlos Correa ended up on the Chicago Cubs. I think it's absolute lunacy. I think it's never going to happen. I don't think the Cubs are going to pay him that, nor do I think the Cubs want to pay a position player like that. That's just me. He's going to be begging for more money than Corey Seager got, and he got 10 years, $325 million. So I don't see the Cubs shelling that out for Correa.
The only reason why I wanted to bring it up is because if they get Correa, all of a sudden the Cubs are a formidable opponent, right? I mean, they have. Well, obviously they'd have to piece together a bullpen, but they did sign Marcus Stroman. You know, they have Kyle Hendricks, who's, besides pitching against the Brewers, he had a pretty decent year. They have Wade Miley now, who is one of the best, not only pitchers, but most valuable players in all of Major League Baseball with a crazy high WAR. I think he's like third or fourth in the league in WAR, wins above replacement this last year. How good of a year he had, especially even pitching in Cincinnati. So all of a sudden, if they do get Correa, the Cubs are going to be an opponent that the Brewers are going to have to worry about. Again, like you said, they'd have to piece together a bullpen, which is easier said than done. You know, especially with the emergence of Patrick Wisdom, who is kind of out of nowhere, hit a bunch of homers. I think he set a Cubs rookie record for home runs. Yes, and then they also had Frank Schwindel, who just came out of nowhere and started raking the ball. Was probably the hottest hitter in all of Major League Baseball for the last 2 months of the year. So, you know, we'll see what happens. You know, money's never really been an issue for the Cubs, but they are in a kind of a rebuild, a semi-rebuild. So we'll see if Correa is a name that they go after.
Well, it's interesting because, just to wrap up the thought, Jason Haywood was previously the largest contract they had ever given out to a position player, and Carlos Correa would triple that. So, just saying, true. I don't think it's going to happen. Now we're going to talk about if you tuned in last Thursday, the top 20 games of the 2021 season for the Milwaukee Brewers. This is totally subjective, and this is my list. If you want to be mad about it, tweet me. I don't care. I've watched virtually every game this year for the Brewers, working stats for the Bally Sports Wisconsin broadcasts, and I think this is a pretty good list. And today we're doing number 18 and number 17, both involving the Cubs. Before we do that, we want to talk about our friends at Built Bar, of course. We're in the home stretch of the holiday season. You can get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy, with Built Bar. It's low in calories, low in sugar, low in net carbs, low in fat, and it's high in protein, of course. They've got so many flavors, and Built Bar will give you that extra fuel here as you're hanging out with your family, maybe traveling out to see your family here around the holidays, with Christmas coming up to this weekend and New Year's next weekend. Built Bar can be that little boost that you need. You can throw it in your stocking as well for your family members too, with a promo code that we got a great offer for you. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, and you're going to get 15% off your order. They've got marshmallowy treats like the Built Bar Puffs. You can dip a Built Bar in like hot cocoa. Like, if that doesn't get you in the spirit, I don't know what will. I could probably use some hot cocoa if you hear my voice right now. So again, go hang out, go help us out with Built.com. It's a great protein bar. Locked15 for your promo code, and you're going to get 15% off your order. Okay, and with that out of the way, let's jump into game number 18 of the top 20 games of the 2021 season, Vinny. I'm going to take you back to June 28th against the Chicago Cubs at American Family Field. This is the first of 3 games head-to-head, a Monday through Wednesday series against the Cubs. The Brewers came in at 46-33. They've had Willy Adames for a little over a month now. The Cubs are starting to show life, but they're coming a little low. They're showing life. They're 42-37, so only 4 games back of the Brewers in late June, right? So they're in it for sure with a month to go before the trade deadline. The Brewers were on a 5-game winning streak entering this game, whereas the Cubs had lost their last 3 games against the Dodgers. This was that really hard schedule for the Cubs. Remember, we talked about circling on the schedule. They had the Nationals when they had everybody, the Dodgers, they had the Mets, and then they had the Brewers, and then they had the Reds. So this was a really big kind of do or die moment for the Cubs in this series. And this first game, you may be knowing where I'm leading, but the final score was 14-4, and that doesn't tell the story at all. What do you remember about this game, Vinny, before we jump into the details?
Well, I don't want to. I mean, I'm going to give it away with a spoiler alert. But what I remember was the huge the huge 8th inning. It was a double-digit inning, 10-run inning. But I want you to kind of recap that for us all, and then I'll chime in after that.
And here's the funniest thing. The Cubs actually scored first in this game in the first inning off Freddy Peralta. Ian Happ hit a 2-run homer 9 pitches into the game. And this is like, oh, man, the Cubs are for real. This is the last series that the Brewers and Cubs will be facing head-to-head before the trade deadline. And again, the Cubs were 4 games back entering this series. So it was huge for the Cubs. For them to punch Freddy in the mouth that quickly. He really struggled in the first 2-3 innings, did Peralta. He allowed 5 of the first 11 batters to reach. He had the 2-run home run by Happ, but the offense picked him up in the bottom half of the inning. This was low-key the Avi Garcia game before that 8th inning kind of took the storm. Avi hit a 2-run single in the bottom of the first off of Kyle Hendricks. And then later in the 3rd inning, they took a 3-2 lead when he hit a solo homer on a curve down the left field line, one of those patented Avi full upper body, way out in front of it, but he yanked it just fair down the left field line. This was a huge game for Avi. And how about this blast from the past of a name that contributed to the offense? One and only Keston Hiura had an RBI single the other way in the 6th inning to make it a 4-2 game. And right now, I mean, again, they had won 5 games in a row heading into this. The Brewers were feeling good. You got to feel like you're invincible, right? This is what we saw like all of June from these guys.
Yeah, I mean, what stands out to me is the fact that, well, first of all, Freddy struggled in the 1st inning. I mean, when you say struggle, you look at his 1st inning numbers and they were just kind of pedestrian. I mean, it was like almost a 4 ERA. But then after the 1st inning, 2nd through 8th inning, I don't think he ever went 9. He was arguably the best pitcher in baseball. And so that's what we saw from him this game. But yeah, at the end of the day, this team exemplified the never quit. We're always in it. We know that it's just a matter of time before we take the lead in the game, and this is what happened in this game. But up until that 8th inning, yeah, they had a bunch of clutch hits. They hung around and stuck around enough with Kyle Hendricks that they scored enough runs to kind of keep them in the ball game, and that's that feeling that I'm talking about. That feeling from the dugout, from the clubhouse, like, okay, let's just hang around enough, or we know we're going to break it open. And I think you're going to get into that 8th inning, but at the end of the day, what they did all year long was they passed the baton. And you talked to Andy Haynes, and Andy Haynes talked about this a lot. I know he's not with the club anymore, but he always talked about the baton passers. He always wanted the next guy to have a quality at bat, and that's what we saw from the team in this game. And everyone got involved obviously in the 8th inning, everybody got involved, but all game long, everyone had those quality ABs.
Now, you may recall, though, it was 4-2 entering the 6th inning, or in the 7th inning, rather, and Brad Boxberger came in, to, do what he's doing, get the hold, move on to Williams and Hader after him. But you mentioned his name earlier. Patrick Wisdom came to the plate, and he hit one of his longest home runs of the year off Boxberger. I went back and watched the highlight.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brad, this thing was torched. This thing made it to the Miller Lite deck out in left center field. For Wisdom, it tied the game at 4. It was 110 miles an hour off the bat. It went 435 feet to deep left center, and that seemed kind of low, quite frankly. It was like that Avi blast earlier in the year. Same thing, where it landed over the Miller Lite deck.
Yeah, I mean, this Patrick Wisdom, and I'm going to plug myself here. I was pounding the table to acquire Patrick Wisdom with the Texas Rangers. We actually did with the Texas Rangers, and then let him walk, obviously. These guys figured out, and this is what, later on, as guys get more at-bats, they figured out, this is what Patrick Wisdom is showing. He's figuring it out. He's tweaked something with that swing. He's gotten a little bit more in rhythm with the pitcher. But this guy's Captain America. My goodness. That ball, like you said, that was probably one of the hardest hit balls I've ever seen, period, in my life. And it was a no-doubter, absolutely. Brad Boxberger didn't give up those kinds of shots too many times this year. He was phenomenal, arguably kind of maybe the unsung hero for the Brewers. I think it's either between him and Jace Peterson for this last year, but it was he left a fastball right down the middle, thigh high, and Patrick Wisdom did not miss it.
Yes, he did. So 4-4. Before we get to that crazy bottom of the 8th, do you remember a play that happened in the top of the 8th that should be a candidate for play of the year for the Brewers?
I do, yeah. Christian Yelich hustled over, and then also Luis Arias. You explained the play better, but it was just a great hustle play by Yelich and Arias to beat Jock Peterson over to third base. Jock Peterson was a really good heads-up play on his part, but it was just a better play by Yelich and Arias.
Setting the scene, 1 out, runner on first, tie game 4-4 against Devin Williams. Ian Happ, the batter. So there's an overshift on for a switch hitter batting left. Overshift on, 3 infielders to the right of second. Jock Peterson's on first. And Happ just hits a little tapper trying to beat the shift through the left side. And he does because nobody's there. Willie Adames went deep into left field trying to get it, but it was beyond his reach. Yelich is coming forward, and then he looks up and realizes no one's at third base, while Peterson is making the aggressive move to get an extra 90 as the go-ahead run. Luis Arias notices this. He was the starting third baseman in this game. But for this positioning, he was on the right of second base. So he had to cover 126 feet of ground, be the last man standing, get a perfect throw from Yelich, and tag Peterson sliding all on the move to get the second out of the inning. It was one of the best plays of the year, and it was a huge play for Wisho's confidence, too, I think, for the rest of the season defensively, that he made that heads-up play and really started to, feel that synergy between his newish teammates, of course. He only played for half of a season so far with the Brewers. So it was a heck of a play by Arias, a really good throw from Yelich, just put it on the bag and trusted Arias to get there, and it was just an absolutely beautiful play, and then Williams ended up getting out of the inning. One quick thing before we just run through that 8th inning, because there's not much to say about a 10-run inning.
Right.
Devin Williams, remember, he struggled at the start of the year. We've talked about this.
He did.
This game, he escaped the bases loaded there in the top of the 8th inning. It was his second game of his streak that went 22 straight games without an earned run.
Oh, wow.
Think about that. So this was the second game of those 22 in a row that he got out of a bases-loaded jam, got great defense behind him. This game was arguably more important to Devin Williams than it was to anybody else on the team because he did it and he got out of it.
So how big is that play now when you think about that play in kind of bailing him out? If they didn't make that out, if Arias wasn't heads up and cover third base there to make that out of Jock Peterson, and Yelich obviously making that great throw, does Devin Williams get shelled a little bit there, right? I mean, he threw 35 pitches that inning, and like you said, So with pitchers, especially relievers, the momentum of the season, the momentum of each outing matters a lot. And the fact that he was able to get out of that and the fact that that play helped him get out of that was absolutely enormous. And you could argue that it started him on that really good streak. It gave him more confidence to get going on that streak. Yeah, I mean, just a great heads up play and gutsy as well by Devin Williams to get out of it without giving up a run, even though it did take him 35 pitches, did not have his best stuff that outing.
Yep. So these series are more about telling about maybe the things you forgot. Of course, we all remember a 10-run bottom of the 8th inning. Home runs were hit by Keston Hira. A 3-run homer was hit by Willie Adames. They had a bases loaded walk. Eric Sogard had to finish the inning on the mound. It was wild. Ryan Tepera actually started the inning, and then Eric Sogard ended the inning. So pretty crazy.
You never see that,
runs.
right? The 8th inning guy started inning. Position player ends it. Yeah.
But here's the funniest thing about that 8th inning. Avi led off. Remember, we talked about he had a homer. He had a 2-run single earlier. He struck out to lead off the inning. Going back at the box score, I didn't realize it. They did all of that with 1 out. They did all of it with 1 out. So in essence, they were 1 ground ball away from the inning being an inning over. With a runner on base. They did it all with 1 out, and it was 10 runs. And this was maybe the first time the nail was placed onto the coffin. I'm not saying it was hammered yet, but this was the 4th loss in a row for the Cubs. It would end up being their 11-game losing streak. And for the Brewers, it was their 6th win in a row, which ended up being their 11-game winning streak. This was the first swing of the hammer on the coffin that put the Cubs away for the season.
And Brewer fans, we love that. Anytime we can put the nail into the coffin or at least start it for the Cubs, we do love that, Dom. So flying that L flag very proudly that
amen
night.
to that. So that's game number 18 in our top 20 countdown. The June 28th, 14-4 final against the Cubs. Now, let's get to game number 17. Before we do that, we're going to tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered all holiday season with more props, more odds, and more lines than ever before as football continues to march to the college bowls and into the pro football playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all of the sports action this season. You can head to their new website or on your mobile device and sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON, all one word, and you're going to get a 50% welcome bonus on BetOnline. They've got it all. Basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, casino games. You can take advantage of all of their amazing offers here at the end of 2021. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. So don't wait. Take advantage. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, game number 17. This one was a wacky one. We're going to go fast forward now after the trade deadline. August 12th at Wrigley, the finale of a 4-game series, a cloudy, overcast day over there in Wrigley. The Brewers came in at 69-46. Nice. It was Brandon Woodruff against Kyle Hendricks again. So the big thing that I'm going to take away from this game before we talk about the offense, the final score was 17-4. Brandon Woodruff did not have his best stuff this game. He only went 4 innings. He allowed 1 unearned run. And a lot of folks started to have cause for concern. It turned out to be nothing, but thanks to jumping out to a massive, 10-0 lead at one point, or 10-1 lead at one point, they could pull him after 4 innings. But this was kind of the first time all year that Big Woo kind of showed that, hey, he was human. He was jumping from 0 to a massive amount of innings in one season.
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, what you saw from Woodruff most of the year that you did not see in this game was his ability to execute when it mattered most. And I've talked about Brandon Woodruff a ton about the fact that he has that power, elite velocity with that fastball. It's power. It's just it doesn't profile necessarily that well in terms of deception or high spin rate, swing and miss capabilities with the thing, but what he does is execute so well with it at an elite level of velocity. 96, 99 is where he kind of sits. And then he always, I mean, I saw it all year long. Everyone saw it all year long. The ability to execute to spots with that thing in order to set up the rest of his repertoire. He does not have that elite type of exploding slider, that nasty curveball. It's nasty, but it's just not that Corbin Burns type level. It's not what you usually see, like a Max Scherzer exploding breaking ball that you usually see from these power type arms that are in, that are number one starters on other teams. but it's enough where he pitches at that high level of velocity with pretty good breaking stuff, with pretty good secondary stuff, and he's also developing that really good change. But what you did not see from him in this game was his ability to execute and just stay consistent with his delivery. I think he talked about it quite a bit, that he was just out of sync. He felt out of sync in that outing. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think the fact that he was is the getting back into the the meat of the season. This is August, middle of August, hot day. I mean, it's tough to be a starting pitcher and to continue to give innings consistently all year long. And I think that showed a little bit in this outing for Brandon Woodruff.
So one of the things too is that, again, the run support helped them out. The Brewers would end up winning this game 17-4. They were already up 5-0 after 2 innings. In the second inning, Jace Peterson had a 2-run homer. Luis Urias had an RBI double, and Willie Adames had an RBI double. So they were continuing to go. And by the way, this win was their first ever 4-game sweep over the Cubs in franchise history. And to do it at Wrigley, I thought was a little chef's kiss, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I tweeted out, all I tweeted was L, comma, L, comma, L, comma, L, comma, and that's all you have to say, because the fact that they swept the Cubs is such a good feeling, especially at Wrigley. I mean, they were playing really well at this point. What was their record? Like 70 and
69 and
43.
46. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, the fact that they were again, talking about the momentum of the season and that the winning feeling in that clubhouse, this was the height of that, I think, especially after sweeping the Cubs at Wrigley. They felt really good about their chances to win the World Series at this point, and then going forward, obviously. So it was a really big series, a really big win, even though they blew them out. It was just a big win to cap off that series.
I got 3 more points on this, and then we can wrap up this episode. First, this was the Manny Pena game. Manny hit 2 homers in this game, including a grand slam off Kyle Hendricks. That was in the 5th inning, and it ended Hendricks' day. But do you remember what happened after he hit home plate when he hit that first grand slam?
Yeah, he gave his batting gloves to a little kid in the first row.
Exactly. So
give some color to that. Yeah, what happened?
So Sophia Minert got the story. She was actually on site at Wrigley, and Sophia interviewed Manny after the game. And I remember we were working that game. We kept showing these kids, making it out with all this gear now all of a sudden from Manny Pena. Apparently, these kids in the front row, right by the on-deck circle for the Brewers, were talking smack to Manny, saying, "Can I get your batting gloves? Can I get your batting gloves?" And he goes, "If I hit a home run, you can get a batting gloves." And then, boom, he hits grand slam, and immediately just gives them straight over to him. Then he comes up again later in the game. Same thing. Kids, "Hey, if you hit another homer, can I have your batting gloves?" He said, "Sure, Poppy." Next thing you know, later in the game, in the 6th inning, he hits his second homer, a blast to the left, and lo and behold, he stops, takes off the batting gloves, and gives it to these kids. I thought it was so awesome. By the way, we got to get Sophia on this show as well at some point.
Yeah, we'll get her on for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I thought that was just really fun. Obviously, the Brewers are going to miss the Pineapple this year. He signed a deal with the Braves to be their backup behind Travis d'Arnaud. But hey, that's business of baseball. He's still going to have a lot of fun memories with the Pena, the previously longest tenured Brewer, Manny Pena.
He was instrumental in a lot of these winning seasons for the Brewers, because at the end of the day, what I want from a catcher is the ability to handle the staff, right? Your pitchers are half of your team. So you essentially need a guy to kind of guide the pitchers through a game. You need trust and buy-in from the pitchers. And Manny Pena got that from day one. I mean, he was just a phenomenal teammate, phenomenal ability to be able to get that buy-in and trust, have the pitchers trust what the fingers that he was putting down were the right fingers. And then, because pitchers, frankly, the game can speed up on you out there. It's a tough gig. So you have to trust what the catcher's putting down for fingers, and then you just have to execute. That's kind of what Manny Pena was able to get out of these guys. So I do think he's going to be missed, but hopefully Pedro Severino can kind of take over that role as well.
And then finally, there were 2 records set in this game. First of all, Luis Urias hit 5 extra base hits in this game, including a handful of doubles and 2 homers. Pretty awesome for Huicho. He became the first Brewer to ever have 5 extra base hits in a single game, and he tied the Major League Baseball record. He was the 13th player ever to hit 5 extra base hits in one game. And again, Huicho had an amazing second half, really a consistent season as well. Once he got his fielding wells figured out and Willie Adames arrived, I thought that was amazing. And one little fun nugget on this game is that in the 9th inning, another position player was pitching, like Eric Sogard was in the previous game we talked about. But Andrew Romine had to come in and pitch for the Cubs. And know who was catching him? His brother, Austin Romine. It was the first time since 1954 it was a brother battery on the mound in a Major League Baseball game. I mean, sure, you're getting blown out 70-4, but hey, at least you have this family photo that's going to hang always on your wall. Like, wow, Andrew, you pitched the game to Austin in the big leagues? Yeah, we were getting killed 17-4 by the Brewers, but yeah, that was a cool moment, right?
That is a cool moment and something that they'll be able to take away forever. Obviously, not a memory the Cub fans will want to remember. But I will say this last thing about this game is I think the biggest takeaway for me about this game was Wicho. The fact that it just looked like he felt more comfortable. It looked like he felt like the changes he was making, kind of with what we talked about last time with that setup and how he would really arch his back, and then the turning into the shoulders. It looked like something clicked for him in this game, that he just felt like, I've got it, right? And you saw that it didn't seem like he was battling himself as much for the rest of the season. Obviously, he had been having a good second half, really a really consistent season the whole season. But I'm just saying it looked like he took another step in terms of the trust in himself and the consistency with what he was trying to do going forward. So I thought that was the biggest takeaway of this game.
All right, so that is game number 17 in our top 20 countdown, recapping to where we're at right now. Game number 20 was April 7th at Wrigley, the Lorenzo Cain two-homer game. August 21st was number 19. That was the game versus Washington, in which Christian Yelich hit 2 homers, including a grand slam. And then today we did 18 and 17, June 28th against the Cubs, the 10-run 8th inning. And then August 12th against the Cubs, 17 runs scored at Wrigley, and Wicho with 5 extra base hits. Next week, we're going to be looking at a walk-off and a road walk-off, if you get what I'm saying. They're not really a walk-off, but down to their final strike. So this will be every Thursday throughout the offseason, Throwback Thursdays, counting down the top games of the year. Eventually, we'll get off this Cubs slide, I think. I think there's a couple more Cubs games still in here that were still more memorable, and I think some fans know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun to beat up on the Cubs, and it's even more fun to recap and reminisce about beating up on the Cubs.
Absolutely.
So,
any Christmas plans, Vinny, before we say goodbye and wish all of our listeners a happy Thanksgiving?
Know what?
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Merry Christmas to everybody. And so what we're doing is we're having the entire family over, all the Rottino side. So there's going to be 20 plus people here. So.
Very nice.
I cooked the meatballs. Yeah.
All right. Well, very nice. We do the same thing over in the Cotroneo household. So all
Nice.
good. Back to Arizona for me. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us, Vinny. And to everybody listening, we hope you have a very safe and happy Christmas coming up this weekend. If you don't celebrate, hope you hang out and enjoy some good football, hopefully, this weekend. Of course, Packers got a big game. They can clinch a number 1 seed this weekend. Should be a whole lot of fun to watch sports, of course, and of the Bucks hosting the Celtics on Saturday. But for Vinny Rottino, I'm Dom Cotroneo. Remember to follow us, subscribe, like, rate our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And as always, thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Now you can go make your second listen Locked On Bets, your one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Plenty of sporting events this weekend on Locked On Bets. It's with your boy Q and expert analysis from Lee Sterling. It's free and it's available on all platforms. So we will see you on Monday. No show for Friday. We'll go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday of next week here on the holiday break. For Vinny, I'm Dom. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Will be no Friday episode tomorrow.